klaro po, no? Napakaklaro po itong kailangan lang natin po dito is just the budget. So hindi po mahirap po na gawin agad-agad yung schema for this, Mr. Chair.
Ano yan, Yusek, that's where tech and legislation differ, di ba? Kasi you're saying madali lang, but the truth is wala pa, di ba? So, when we legislate this, I'm giving it a time frame, no? Of course, if it can be done earlier, mas maganda. But, that's why if you notice, phase 1, which is basically good for a year, is not yet on the blockchain. It doesn't refer to nodes yet. It's just disclosure. Yun pa lang actually, malaking bagay na yan, and it's interoperable, diba? So, I'm hoping that maybe by the end of next year, hindi lang DBM and DICT yung may node, other groups who may be listening to us might volunteer to put up nodes. Like I could imagine UP-NCPAG, Ateneo School of Government, GMA7, ABS-CBN also wanting to have their nodes where all of this information is available to the public and it's decentralized, no? Para hindi siya mababago ng basta-basta. Sige po, we'll have Attorney Mark, si Prof. Toti, then si Hill.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to raise a point not about the data nodes, but siguro to put on record lang or in the minutes of the possible recognition of this concept called data embassy, Mr. Chair, which was actually raised by the DBM during the second hearing several weeks ago. So
TWG.
Yeah, sorry, TWG hearing, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry about that. So with on record, for the record lang, Mr. Chair, we're proposing that we, especially for the pilot phase, we coordinate with third-party providers and home state for the hosting of for the hosting infrastructure for the pilot phase to recognize digital embassies. So for the public, Data Embassy is a server location outside the Philippines under Philippine control for data backup and critical services, ensuring digital continuity and security of the physical data covered by this act. So this ensures also data sovereignty and custodianship, Mr. Chair, from day one. So for the record.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone objecting to the concept of digital embassies? Because originally, I know that a number of groups parang were pushing that all the hosting should be done geographically within the Philippines. But again, we're free to we're having a discussion. It's a hearing. We're supposed to disagree if you want. The concept of a digital embassy, meaning the hosting is abroad but controlled by the Philippines. Yes, Yusek Dave.
Mr. Chair, kaya nga po dun sa, remember when I presented that we have a so-called confidential data and the non-confidential data. Once we already have that, when we launched the eGov chain, the first launching of the first node of the digital national ID, is basically we have the PII data. So the one that's being exposed is a token that will be queried now to multiple financial inclusion, like GCash, Maya, or banks can now query to the national ID. Okay, but there will be no such thing as alteration or ano. But hindi kinakailangan, Mr. Chair, na na kahit sino later on yung mag-handle ng node, as long as ito ay hindi siya PII, at as long as minarkahan ito ng tinatawag na data contributor na siya ay pwedeng i-expose kahit saan po yan i-store later on, they can have their own node. So tatama po si Attorney Mark, no. In fact, even without calling it data embassy, as long as in-expose natin ito, anyone that could have that network of node can actually handle this information later on. Kasi po public data na po siya at hindi po siya PII. As long as hindi siya magkakaroon ng usage for abuse, like yung nakalaan po dun sa data privacy law natin, na pwedeng magamit yung data na yon, may email address, may mobile number, may address ng kanyang tahanan and the like, as long as ito po ay tinatawag, considered po na non-confidential data na pwedeng i-expose kahit saan, wala pong problema po yan kahit saan yung location ng ating data later on, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is anyone objecting to that? Kasi I just want to get a clear understanding of who is for and against this. Sige, sorry, was that Toti, then Paul, no?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No objection on that, but I think what should also be discussed on the table is the investment needed to have a data center to accumulate all those information. We're talking here of gigabytes or petabytes of data. Now, when we talk about data centers, we talk about power supply, water, security, etc. And I think the more ideal location to make it more feasible would be places like Iceland, where temperature is very cold. Now we talk about digital diplomacy or embassy. Maybe we could, if the Philippine government can afford to buy a data center, let's say in Iceland, to own it and run it by the Filipinos, by all means that's tolerable. But if we're going to locate it here, other factors that we consider is the quality of our communication lines to maintain the uptime. So these are the other technical aspects when you talk about digital hosting and sovereignty. And those are the things that probably have not yet been what we term in our old school is capacity planning. It's something that we learned back in the 1970s, which I think should be still present today. And to estimate how much information are we going to store in the years to come. Are we going to keep that? Will that have the historical data going as far as 10 years for academic studies, for academic research? There's a lot of use for data. It's not just one-time use. It's going to be so you just imagine the magnitude of investment that the government will get into. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Prof. Actually, sa totoo lang, this data is not a lot. Hindi siya ganun karami. Hindi talaga siya ganun karami. This one, what we're talking about, yung full digitalization is a lot. But this one is not a lot. No? But yes, we can prepare for that, Paul. But we leave the data centers to the implementers already. Yes, Paul?
Yeah, if we're gonna follow the real blockchain deployment of nodes, just for the public to understand, no, not every node holds data. So we have full nodes, we have validator nodes, which is a full node as well, and we have light nodes, right? So I think, Mr. Chair, this is okay, but we just need to define what are we talking about in terms of data custodial, no? Kasi we have institution, we suggest that because that's data talaga na full, dapat talaga hosted dito. Pero like if light nodes lang naman, like in a way analytics na public naman talaga, for us it doesn't matter kasi like for me if I'm a small business, wala naman akong data center to host a full node, but I just want the reporting mechanism to do it na nagmi-mirror sa akin. So I should be able to host on a foreign cloud kasi mas mura. Something like
AWS or something
AWS,
like that.
Azure, etc. Like what Attorney Mark is saying. Because what we're talking in blockchain, it's not really data, it's really state, no? It's a deterministic system na all validators are gonna have the same input and the same output and result, but not technically the whole data by itself. So just to like para maintindihan lang po ng tao na hindi naman po kailangan na pag na lahat naka full node, na kailangan i-host yung data natin na buong-buo.
Okay. So, sige, we're running out of time, no? So, I'm gonna just ask for one more na lang. Hil na lang, siguro. Do you agree with the data embassy concept, or do you want all of the nodes here in the Philippines?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, I agree with the data embassy concept and related to the data sovereignty. Just add to the discourse we've been discussing and talking about nodes a lot of time. Maybe the public may be confused. Basically, these are just computers or servers where the software is deployed. So I hope you are in the same understanding as that. And in terms of the design, actually, this may be technical, but in terms of participation, say for example, who can participate in the decentralized ledger? Say for example, an ordinary citizen or a public or a company. So this is where data sovereignty becomes an issue. Like for example, I'm a small company and I want to participate in the network of computers, which are the network of nodes. I cannot afford like maybe the specifications of the computer that needs to run that software. So I can just deploy and perhaps afford AWS or Azure, although there are already local zones, but that may be expensive still for now. So that's a point for consideration in terms of like data embassy. So if the servers are located abroad and if it's recognized, it may work well with others that's wanting to participate in the network.
Thank you. Sige, I'll have Sir Mon give the last word on this. So it seems we need to work on this provision a little bit more, but Sir Mon, go ahead.
Thank you. Sinabi mo last word, Mr. Chair. Anyway, I agree with the concept of the term, the concept of data embassy. Okay, no question about. Ang inaalala ko lang dito is paano yung dating ng mga pinag-uusapan natin ditong terms do sa mga nanonood sa ating ngayon, milyon-milyon. Okay, can we just describe the concept in such a way, okay, na madaling maintindihan ng mga tao? Okay,
So,
yun lang po.
ang tanong po right now kasi is where the data is going to be held, no? And initially, the current provision says it should be here. But then I hear from all of you, and no one naman is objecting, that there has to be some leeway for us to have that data hosted outside of the country, even though it's still under the supervision and control of our country. Now that's what everyone is saying. Anyway, we'll work on this provision with everybody again. We'll try to get comments again. But no one is really objecting to that. The data embassy concept, or having a node where your server is a cloud server, which is probably AWS or Azure or whatever. No one's really objecting. Sige, we'll change this and we'll work on it with everybody. Okay, so I gotta go. I'm sorry, no, it's already 12:01. But can everyone just look at sections 10 onwards? So section 10 is the council. It's 4 from government and 3 from the private sector. They're basically the council that is tasked with overseeing the implementation of the act. No? Then we have section 11, which are the functions. You're free, of course, to suggest other functions, but this is pretty pro forma. Section 12 is the implementation timeline. Now, we put this here because it's important to put this here. Because maraming mga batas na walang ganto and it's 7 years later and it's not getting implemented. No? So, we put this here just so that we have expectations. Ang pinakamahalaga for me for Section 12 is really that Phase 1 is done within 2026. And Phase 1, for many of the budget watchdogs here, is really it. No? Kumbaga, this is what they really care about. That all of the documents are online, published, posted, and available to the public in a way that can be analyzed, na hindi siya pang PDF lang, sabi nga ni Ms. Mary Lou, but pwede talagang ma-analisa. At meron ng penalties pagdating sa pagtatago ng mga impormasyon sa publiko. That's Phase 1, no? If we're able to do Phase 1 by 2026, I think we would have succeeded already. Phase 2 and Phase 3 is where the tech comes in and where we secure everything, papagandahin natin yung UI, sabi nga ni Prof. Toti, regular Filipino should be able to understand and utilize it better. This is where that comes in. We're giving ourselves also some time to develop that further. Of course, if this can be done all within next year, why not? Diba? Pero nilalagay ko lang yung phasing para we can prioritize. Kasi Phase 1, I think, is really the biggest change management, which is getting all of these agencies to publish and post the information. Eventually, magkaka-protocol, sabi nga ni Paul, where part of the work of procurement, it's already an integrated system where hindi na siya a second step. What I imagine kasi for Phase 1 is that it's a second step right now. They accomplish the procurement, the documents, and then they post. But eventually, kung may protocol na tayo, it's one step and it's automatically shared on cadena and shared with the public, no? Of course, I've dealt with a lot of tech companies. Puro tech companies po yung kausap ko dito. Everybody promises within 1 year, but we all know it really takes some time, di ba? Natatawa po sila because they know that that's usually how it goes, di ba? So we are putting some timelines here which I think are realistic. Of course, if it can be done faster, why not? No, why not? This doesn't stop also the ICT and current agencies like DPWH from doing the pilots. No, kasi marami po sa mga pilot programs are being done, which basically is also this, no, ASECMIG, no, ginagawa na yung pilot. So we wish you the best with all of these pilots, but at some point we will all integrate towards this law once it's made, once it's passed. So for Section 12, it's really the phasing of the implementation. If you have suggestions on the phasing, we will accept your suggestions. Kung may mga nais kayong makitang pagbabago dito, we're happy to accept your suggestions. We have a few days until November 12, which is when we plan to sponsor the bill at the plenary. Sections 13 and 14 are pretty much usual provisions lang yan on oversight. Section 15 is the other important one.